Hello and welcome to Clamp, the Creating, Living, and Making podcast. I'm your host, Grant Alexander, and today I'm joined with the magnificent Maker Mackie.
Howdy ho!
And the also magnificent, because I can't think of another M word, Morley Kurt.
Yo!
Hey guys, so we're going to start with myself this week because that's the order I decided before the show started. And I've got 99 problems, and a battery slowly draining itself for no apparent reason is one. So my battery keeps dying on my car, and it's really annoying, and I can't figure out why, if it's a bad battery or
Alternator?
I checked the alternator. Alternator's good. And it doesn't, it just seems really random, which is really frustrating. So, been dealing with that. But I've ordered a new battery, and that's going to go in. And if it's not the battery, then the old battery will just go in the camper, and it'll be fine. I also made and then remade a giant poster frame because I made it 1 inch too short because I forgot to get confirmation of the exact dimensions. We had a conversation with the guy, and he said it could be up to 64 inches. And then I remember him saying 60 inches. And I did a quote up on 60. So between 60 and 64 inches, the amount of wood difference wouldn't change how much I would charge them. I'd just charge them the same. I didn't care. So I did my quote up based on 60 inches because I already had all the math done from a previous one and just had to input the different wood species because it costs a little more money. And I sent him that number. And so then I went home and he was like, great, that number's acceptable to me. So I went out to the store, and they happen to have, normally they only sell 8-foot long boards, but apparently they had made they make some shorts that they sell. And they had recently made these shorts, and there was a bunch of 5-foot long boards. So they're 61 inches. And I was like, sweet, I don't have to waste this extra, couple of feet at the end that I'm always going to hold on to for 6 years and then never use. And I was like, sweet. It's like a win-win, right? 61 inches, perfect. That's enough. Like, you take a half inch off each side, you cut everything square. Everyone's golden. I'm going to be so happy. Let's rip them down. Got in the car, made it all up, and then asked the guy for the exact dimensions because I went back through my emails and couldn't find us confirming that.
What a saga.
Yeah. It's a $70 worth of wood saga. So
was it walnut?
Oh, damn.
no, it is plantation teak. So luckily it wasn't.
So you pretty much just eliminated your commission then.
Well, I still have the other one I can sell later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it's 60 inches is a common size for posters.
I'll start calling around and see if anyone needs a 60-inch poster hanger.
Yeah. Well, the guy that I normally make them for, I'll just sell it to him. I'm sure he's already seen the wood and thought it was beautiful. So great. It's all going to work out.
Nice.
It's the extra work that I didn't want to do right now. So
you got to charge him a rush fee.
Well, no. So now I was rushing, and then he emailed me today and said that his wife got exposed to COVID and so is now self-isolating. Like, they don't know, like, they just got an exposure. So he's basically like, for the next 2 weeks, I won't be able to pick it up. And I went, okay. It's a good thing I rushed. Anyways.
I meant the other guy, but
oh, yeah.
Because you've already got it ready, you'd be like, hey, it's this much, or I'll have it ready in like 10 minutes if you pay this much.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's already seen it. He literally saw me. He came and dropped something off. So, unfortunately, I really would like to stick down to having 0 customers, but having 1 is okay. Having 2 was too many to juggle for me. And that's like, I don't know if anyone listened to my my Garage Avenger podcast when I was on his Make Ideas Reality, the saying no. I'm really bad at it. So,
me too.
Anyways, Morley, what have you been up to this week?
So I am knee deep in my project for the Because We Makes podcast, their holiday challenge, which is the Unwrap a Project challenge. So I would say I am now in the detailed engineering phase. So I'm in Fusion 360 now, making sure all the moving parts work together and adding little embellishments and stuff while trying not to lose sight of the piece as a whole. Because with something like this that has a lot of little details but is in itself not very big, it's surprisingly easy to lose sight of the entire piece. So taking some breaks between it and coming back to it each day and not being afraid to do some iterations, and if I don't like something, just to go back. Again, great, like I've mentioned before, great advantage to the timeline feature in Fusion 360 is that you can go back and change things and kind of infinitely.
One day I will try Fusion 360, and that feature alone will make me want to keep it.
Yeah. So it's should work. I'm optimistic. It's feeling, a project that there's that point where like a project is very conceptual and you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then things start coming together and you're like, okay. I see. And we're kind of there. So things are looking good.
Most of my projects stay in the conceptual phase and never get to that phase where it looks like it might actually work. So,
and then the final project is just a concept.
Yeah. I wish I could make YouTube videos about the concepts that are inside my brain, because those would be amazing projects.
Just learn some animation.
Yeah.
There you go. I've also just been doing a bunch of commissions for the holidays. Did a couple carved and painted dog patches that I got sent out last week. I just finished up a cool minimalist card wallet, and I started editing the video on that today. It is a new style for me, so it's kind of good that I'm not really going to be able to post the video till at least December 10th, because that is the first night of Hanukkah, and this is a Hanukkah gift for someone. So depending on when the giver gives it to the receiver. But it's good because I was editing it today, and I can tell I'm going to need to take a little time and watch it through a few times to make sure everything flows nicely. And I'm also working on a little like leather coin purse, which is another new design for me. So it's good. Got a bunch of like new stuff in the mix. That's me this week.
Wow. Sounds like you're keeping yourself busy. Adam, you sound like you're the busiest of us all. Right. So why don't you tell us what you're working on this week?
I've been so busy this week. So I've been editing and making. I made a 1 hour build, which was a kid's, like a toddler bench seat, which was for our, we have a photographer that we like always get our photos and stuff through, and she wanted it done. So that was a nice little commission.
Are you going to be entering that into the Carl Pope build a chair thing?
I am now. I know about it.
It's on December 5th or 6th. You have to have the video out on those 2 days. There's no prize, but it's like part of he's trying to build a little community there.
Yeah, probably not then, because I'm not going to have it done in a couple of days.
I thought it's a 1 hour build. I've seen it. It's physically finished.
It's physically finished, but the video hasn't even been rendered. Not even rendered. It hasn't even been started yet. Haven't even optimized the media. No, so that's probably not going to be out inside. But so yeah, I did that. I've been editing, and I've been making these drawers for the back of a Land Cruiser, which has been a nice little challenge. It's like a bit of some new stuff for me, but these drawer slides that we've been using have this like locking mechanism where you have to push down on the front of the drawer slides to actually pull it out. And it's it's really weird. And then we have a drawer that a fridge goes on top of, but then there's a drawer inside that drawer. So it's like it's like a telescoping drawer, which is pretty cool. That was interesting to try and work out.
So the drawer mechanism, you have to pull the whole drawer down and then that unlocks.
No. So on the front, there's two little like buttons that like slide down. So you push those down, and then the drawer will actually pull out.
Okay.
And then when you push the drawer back in, they automatically lock back up.
Are you going to be making any like? I'm not sure what's going on the face of the drawer. Are you going to be making any like switch extenders out of like wood or anything, or is that just going to be directly accessible?
No. So there's a front panel on the front of every drawer, and then there's a slot cut where those little tabs are. so that you can put your finger in and push them down. And then there's a handle on the front of the drawer as well. But the only issue that I have, the drawer slides that the guy bought that the drawers are for, is there's one on both drawer slides. There should be one on just one drawer slide, so you can use one hand to push down and the other hand to pull the handle. So
I think what Morley's trying to get at is how my like toolbox has those locking things, and it's great. I love it because you don't end up with all your drawers opening by accident. But you could, if you just attached a piece of wood across the front of that attached to both sides, that you could then push down.
Right. Yeah, I did consider that, but it would really take away from the look. And and the customer doesn't want that, so it is what it is.
You could just tape one
kind
down.
Of sucks, but it just. Well, I thought of that too. I thought I could like make that mechanism just be permanent and then cut off that little tab. But that's what he asked for, so that's what he's getting. The only thing was that because of that, it has to be so perfect that you can push down and pull out just the little bits to get past the locking mechanism. Whereas before, if the drawer was a little bit stiff, if it only had one, you could pull on the handle to actually open the drawer. So the slides have to be that smooth that it'll actually open without that.
And then he's going to go overlanding with it, and the slides are going to get all effed up. And
that's not my
plan. Well, I saw.
As long as it works when he gets it, too bad.
I saw that on Instagram, and that's a full double extension drawer. That's insane.
Yep. Yeah. So that I think I'm going to try and once I actually install it in the back of his car because it has to be bolted down, I think I'm going to actually pull out that drawer and then stand in it. Or stand on the fridge one at least. So the fridge one holds like 230 kilograms, and then all the other drawers hold I think 150 or something like that. So yeah, a lot of weight. But interesting thing that happened while doing that, it was really windy and crappy weather here, and my camera I didn't notice got blown over. And I picked it up and there was glass everywhere, so that was fun. Luckily, it was not my lens, but it was the lens protector that was on the camera. So luckily, I don't remember where I saw it, but I think it might have been Zach from ZH Fabrications might have said it, where he puts UV filters on all of his lenses so that sparks and stuff don't get in on the actual lens. You can just replace the UV filter. So I've done that as soon as I bought them just to stop the sawdust getting in.
Yeah.
And luckily it saved my lens because my lens is $800 and the lens protector was $30.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, so very happy about that. It did bend a little bit. Like I haven't been able to get the outside of the lens protector off yet, but...
You'll figure it out. As long as you can still use the lens, like... Even if
I cut my finger trying to pull all the glass out.
Oh,
that was fun.
Well, that's weather for you. And that brings us to our topic of the day, weather.
Wow.
Did we decide whether or not we want to do weather?
Yeah, we're doing weather.
That was a bad dad joke.
Yeah. So anyways, why I wanted to talk about weather is because I've been converting my shop from my summer setup to my winter setup, which I know Adam here is like, ha ha ha, winter. Winter for me, it's like 20 degrees Celsius, and then I go, it's so cold. But
yeah, I find it so funny when you guys are like, oh, you got to change my shop from winter to summer. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
Most people don't change their shop, but in the winter, I like to let my wife park inside so that she doesn't have to like brush off her car with all the snow.
Oh, aren't you a lovely husband?
Sometimes. In reality, it's because I absolutely hate doing and she'll laugh at this later, I'm sure. I hate doing snow blowing around a car. So when I snow blow my driveway, I want no cars there because it's just so much easier. It's faster. I don't have to worry about scratching my car. So I really make the room in my garage so that I don't have to snow blow around her car. But
you know, why don't you just not slow blow?
Because what would I do then? Move to Australia?
Uber.
So
just Uber everywhere, then you don't have to clean up stuff.
You still do. Because you have to clear your... Like, if I don't clear my driveway, you couldn't walk out of the house. Yeah,
right.
Like, so we went to... When we first moved here, in 6, 7, 8 years ago now, we went to Hawaii within the first week of moving. So we moved in, and then the next day went to Hawaii for 2 weeks, and it was in February. And we came back, and obviously we didn't know any neighbors, so we couldn't say, hey, can you clear off my driveway or anything like that. So we got back, and the snow was above it was up to my shoulders at the end from the snowplow.
Yeah, right.
We couldn't get the car out for 2 days. It was insane. It just happened to be the really bad weather in Ottawa during the time, but that being said, weather affects how I make. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm sure that out there are people who deal with weather, whether it be the extreme heats that Maker Mackey's currently dealing with, or the extreme colds that Morley and I are dealing with. And
it's currently raining.
Well, that's good. Because you guys...
No, it's not, because I was supposed to paint the carpet.
At the start of 2020, what was the biggest news item around the world? Australia was burning.
Fire.
Right? And now it's raining. That's good news.
I thought that was a quiz for a second. I was like, I can't remember any news before COVID.
Yeah.
We went from 2 years of drought to really bad fires, and now it's raining.
Yeah. Anyways, so I'm going to ask everyone, what do you do to change in the winter/summer months? And I'm going to start it off with Adam.
Well, I think the only thing it really affects me is the heat and stuff makes me build less.
Right.
Because it's so damn hot to be out there. I don't have an air-conditioned shop. Hopefully one day I will. But but then again, the other day it was 41 degrees outside Celsius.
105.
I just had to get these drawers. Yeah, so I just had to be outside making these drawers, and it was so damn hot. Luckily, the humidity wasn't too high, but it was just hot. So it was nice every time I came in for a break because the aircon was on inside.
Yeah.
Winter though, I've never had winter affect me other than raining, and I can't do big stuff.
Right.
But I'm sure there are people in Australia that probably do stuff to prevent stuff during winter.
But it doesn't have to be.
I've just never had.
But even what you do is you change how you work because of the rain, right? So you go.
Yeah, for sure.
There's going to be days or even weeks where you can't do anything outside, especially with MDF because it disintegrates.
Yeah.
Right?
What's the problem with these drawers that I'm doing at the moment is that they're so big that it's so much easier for me to do them outside. So I've been doing them outside. I could have carpeted them in the shop today, but it'd just be such a pain in the butt that I'd rather just wait a few days till it's not raining and do it outside. And I finally worked out how to change. I finally worked out that the iOS or whatever it is setting on the camera changes how much brightness the lens is and stuff as well. So that was nice because every time I record outside, it's really bright on pine. And I was like, how the hell do I fix this? I've seen people record outside before and they don't have this issue.
Well, that isn't a weather thing though. That's a total interesting aspect of it is recording inside versus outside. Because I know all of us have done outside recording and inside recording and then trying to match up that, those colors. What I do is I put it in my computer and then whatever it spits out is what I do. I know that there's people in this chat that do something called color grading. I still haven't figured out what that is. Maybe one day.
I did color grading for my last video. That was every single little clip. Once it was cut up, I did color grading, so that was interesting. But I think now that I've worked out my camera outside, I think I'm going to use it. I'm going to record outside a lot more because that was nice, not being in a cramped little shop.
Yeah. You have a lot more freedom.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
so I mean, the weather in my life, I feel like is not. It affects me, I think, very different than you guys, because in my current making situation, it's not going to change how I make very much. I feel like the weather and the changing seasons mostly has an effect on kind of how I feel, and it's weird. I was kind of worried for winter to come. and like with COVID and like not being able to spend as much time outside, feel like really cooped up. But it's been feeling wintry the last like week, 2 weeks here. And it's actually like been really, really nice. It's very strange. It's actually made me like kind of excited in a weird way. I think part of it might be like the holiday season, which is kind of a nice thing to be happening during a global pandemic, because it feels like this excuse to be happy and have this sort of like empathic experience with everyone in the world.
But I will say it has been feeling a little wintry. It hasn't been feeling minus 30 wintry yet.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's also one of the things I'm happy to be in Toronto and not Montreal right now, because I realized like my first winter here was last year, and with the lake, and I mean, I'm sure in Ottawa you get colder winters there than we do here.
Yeah, that's true. I totally forgot about that.
It's really great here. Like you can bike all year round in Toronto, even though it snows, and it just melts relatively fast, and it's a lot more mild than Montreal. However, that didn't stop me from biking year round in Montreal.
Did you, in Montreal or in Toronto, do you change your bike up at all to bike?
No.
Because like I know, like people I used to work with biked throughout the winter. One, they had a whole separate bicycle just for the winter, so that it got rusty and they didn't care. But you probably just have I got a bike and it's already rusty, so I don't care. But once you have like one of those like $1,000 plus bicycles, you're like, I think I can afford a second one.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is my bike is like a hybrid bike, so it has like that in between road tires and off-road tires. Yep. But if I had a road bike, I would need to change the tires, because like a tiny amount of snow or ice, you just immediately slide if you hit the brakes.
Well, okay. So I have a mountain bike and a hybrid bike, and as soon as I see snow, I just put them both away. I'm just not like, I just don't like, I'm a fair weather bicyclist.
So it's interesting though. Like, I mean, the weather definitely does affect my making, because like this summer I did some projects where I was cutting wood outside, and it just won't be as easy to do it in the winter. Like it will definitely affect the projects that I will be doing. So I've thought about before, like I'm really curious about living in a warm climate at some point in my life. My entire life I've lived in temperate climates with hot summers and cold winters. And I see like the guys in Joshua Tree, like Ben Ueda, Mike Montgomery, Brett McAfee, and being like, oh, being in the desert, dry all the time, always can work outside. Like that'd be pretty nice. But there is something about the changing seasons that I really love. And it feels like it's very difficult to put into words. Maybe Grant, you can a little better than I do, because you've also lived in temperate climates.
It's the only place I grew up in Kingston, so it's more like Toronto weather, because it's also on Lake Ontario. But what I feel now is that I look forward to those slightly nicer days so much more than I used to. When it's going to be a -5 day, I realize that's a day I can get out in the shop, right? And the other days I'm like, I can't do any woodworking at all when it's -30. I've tried it. It's got to be a 5-minute project. Like I need to go make a couple cuts, done, back in, because your hands just get so cold so fast, and you don't want to be spinning tools and gloves. Yeah, right. I use gloves sometimes in some of my videos, and people have made comments, but whatever. It's my hands that I'm risking, and I'd rather them to be warm and potentially, and I'll keep them far away from the spinny tool, than cold, and I get them, and then I have other problems because of that. Haters gonna hate. It was my brother who made the comments. So.
Of course. I want to see videos of Morley drifting on a bicycle in his next video.
I'm actually.
All right, I'll get one this winter.
I'm surprised you don't have more action shots around Toronto in your videos. You've done a couple. In your videos, I remember one like there was like a guy playing. I don't know, just like just pre-pandemic, but like you have some like cool ways you could film you biking around. But I guess because you don't have a GoPro. I always think about like I have a GoPro, so you can attach it to anything and then make a cool video out of it, right?
Yeah. No, that's true. It would be fun to do that a little more. I could do it with my phone. I actually thought about that when I was getting back into the bike courier work, about doing like just starting a separate Instagram for like interesting pictures I saw when I was out and about. And then I realized like stories are kind of good for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be
Your stories would make great
That's
B-roll.
exactly why I was thinking it, is that you get all these interesting like stories and videos, and then they don't make it into your, interesting like YouTube videos.
Yeah. Then the next couple will have more sort of like B-roll that things. It's funny, like you don't really know. It takes a long time, I think, to figure out what sort of B-roll and non-making stuff you want to integrate into your videos. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like with finding your style. And I'll just say that like in my next couple of videos, like I wouldn't have known to use this stuff in the videos like 9 months ago. And I've been living and making and improving and iterating in a way that like now I know how I'm able to do that.
Yeah. It's great because then you start to see things and you'll take video out of
be more opportunistic,
right? And you'll just be like, I can use this will make this snow falling. I was actually watching like Doug Linker is really good at integrating nature scenes into his things, and one of his latest like carving videos was like it starts off with just a bunch of snow falling around his property, and just like beautiful scenery of like the snow hanging on the tree branches and stuff like that. And then he carves Santa or something. I can't remember exactly what he carved, but whatever it was.
I mean, that's a good segue, because one thing I was going to say as well is that the changing weather is a source of inspiration for me as well. Mm-hmm. It's funny. Like I love Bill Burr, the comedian. Grant, we've talked about him before. Mm-hmm. And one of his bits I love is how, like, cause he's from the East Coast of the US and then he now lives in Los Angeles. And he talks about how like the always nice weather in Los Angeles just like beats you down. Like it's always 75 degrees and sunny and everyone's always looking beautiful and happy. And it's just like, it's like, sometimes it's like living in Groundhog Day, and having that seasonal variation where things change it up. It like, I think I would be more inspired in this climate than I would be living in like Florida, let's say, where it's a little more consistent weather.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've thought about that recently. It's like I was going for a walk and a specific weather event inspired me for a project that I'm definitely going to do next year now. And I'm really excited for. And I don't know, I think it's a bit of like ADD, weather ADD, but it definitely helps a little bit.
I think what it is that if you don't have highs and lows, then you don't know how to regulate. Right? Mm-hmm. Then you're like you're saying, like that's the nice weather in LA beats you down because you're like, that's my low now. My low is way too high. I don't have any low days. I only have mediocre, like the mediocre day is the rainy day, but it's still 80 degrees, right? Like, so yeah, exactly. That's where I feel it really it helps me keep, like it helps like regulate my emotions to a point where you realize how good it is in the summer, and you want to maximize the time you spend or the time you can spend easily doing stuff. And it also, and I've got another point on that I want to segue into, but if other people have more on the emotional part.
I think it also can make you more resourceful having to deal with bad weather. In the same way that working out of a small space makes you more resourceful.
It's so almost exactly what I was going to go for, but
shared brain.
Yeah. I was just going to say like 100% on that too. Like even take away the different what's the fourth seasons of the year? Summer. Seasons. Take away the different seasons. Even just middle of winter, like it's raining every day, and you have one day where it's nice and sunny, and you try and get as much done as you can on that one day because you don't know how long it's going to last. Even take yesterday, I knew it was going to rain at some point, so I got outside and did as much as I could before it rained.
It is motivating, especially like I'm on a kick of taking outdoor beauty shots of stuff. So it's like I will be looking at the forecast and literally making my workflow around that.
So, and I think it's interesting because you can make beauty shots in winter. One of my very favorite thumbnails is the beer caddy that I made with Pat Lap. Well, I didn't make it with Pat Lap, but he's in the video. But I shot it in, like, the beauty shot is in my backyard in the snow. And I just love the white of the snow combined with the green of my hedges, and then with the beer, the like yellow of the beer. It was land shark, so it's yellow. Anyways, like all those colors combined, like it just really makes those colors pop.
And like it's just kind of another example of like how disruptions fuel creativity. Like it took the weather turning to mostly overcast this fall to like lots of sunny, beautiful days this summer for me to realize something which I already should have known because everyone says it, but that you can take better pictures on a cloudy day than you can on a sunny day. But like those external changes like forced me to viscerally have that realization.
Yeah. I think if you know what you're doing, a sunny day is always better. But I think that amateur photographer, it takes better pictures on a... But we'll have to get like Dave Swiduck on.
It's tough if your stuff is shiny. That's the really hard part.
Yeah. But like, cause
Yeah. Also, I recorded a few days ago, like some green screen work for my latest video that I'm currently editing. And the background and everything is just so bright that I can't get it out. I can't cut it out as much as it should because it's like reflecting on the back of the green screen. It like went through a little bit. So like I'm thinking today, which is Overcast, might be perfect to re-record it.
Yeah. So that's the lighting. Like I completely get that because especially in my early videos, I used to do my end scene used to be in my little solarium. But it's like a little...
So fancy.
I know, so fancy. It's just like two chairs in a little... Like, it's a all-window room, and it's in the summer about 700 degrees because it's a greenhouse, basically. But anyways, in the winter, it's really cold because they didn't do a full basement. It's the worst part of my whole house, but also one of the most beautiful, so that's where I would film that. But what would really suck is that I couldn't do it at midday because it was like you would walk over there and just start sweating, and I couldn't do it at night because all the lights would reflect off all the windows and look like crap. So it was really hard to like if it was an overcast day, it was the only day I could do it and not look ridiculous. So that's why I started recording my end screens in my garage where I control the lighting.
That's another good point you brought up then as well is when it's really hot is you sweat a lot. And that's not appealing on camera. You know, like I know it's funny and like it's stupid, but it's true. Like if you watch a video and someone's just drenched in sweat, like that's just going to gross you out. Like no one wants to see that.
Where, like when they're playing sports, sure, but when they have my physique, no one wants to see it.
I'm gonna start doing summer woodworking videos in like mesh top and like short shorts.
Like I'm not gonna say it. But you know, like you say like Grant, I think it was last week you said what you get white shirts from.
That's exactly
your beer.
Yeah.
And you always give them away. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed, but I very rarely and I always try not to wear white shirts in my videos because it shows the sweat.
That's why
so
I don't wear them. That's exactly why I don't wear them. I hated that growing up because I went to a school with a uniform, so you had to wear a white shirt. So it was really annoying. Anyways, let's not go down a hole. Let's not open that Pandora's box of my childhood.
Yeah,
but that's the same. Like I redid my deck last year, the year before, whatever. And people asked, "Well, why didn't you make that a YouTube video?" And I went, "Because it was direct sunlight, in very, very, very hot days where I was like." Just sweating my balls off. I didn't want to put that out there. Like I know that we kind of edit ourselves a bit, but that's one of the things that I totally consider when doing projects. I know when it's super hot, I don't want to go out in the shop. I'd rather it be I'd rather it be
for sure.
-5 than 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that I wanted to bring up, and it's kind of the resourcefulness of that Morley was pointing to, is that I've been thinking about picking up different types of making. And this is the kind of resourcefulness, but like the leather, I after our little camping trip and my acquiring leathercraft skills, according to my video, I bought a bunch of leather and leatherworking tools, but I haven't used them yet because I went, it's not time. I need to continue using the outdoor tools until I can't anymore. Right. Not that it wasn't like, I'm sure I could go and find a leather project to do, but I just know I have some things I want to use my big tools on. And once it gets a little colder, -35, if I want to do a project, I'm thinking that's going to be a nice, having a little leatherworking shop in the basement is going to be a fun thing to do.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Like, save it for when you can't be out in the shop. Definitely. Yeah, I've been considering getting into leatherwork as well. Watching that, the wallet that you did, the MF one, like really made me think. Like, I need a new wallet. I'm like, I should just make one.
It's funny. I actually think a wallet is not the best beginner leathercraft project, because in the scheme of things, it's relatively small. Like people always say in woodworking, like beds are easy because everything's big and you can hide your mistakes. Well, that's like the opposite of a wallet in leatherworking. Like everything in a wallet is small, so you can see all your mistakes very big. I actually think a good beginner leatherworking project is more like a belt or a big notebook cover or a handbag.
A belt or a notebook cover, would definitely be great.
Yeah.
Not a leather.
I'll probably start off with a
not a leather sheath.
I'm an idiot.
Because that's what
sheaths as well, actually. Yeah, because there's only a few.
I feel like a sheath would be harder than a wallet.
No,
a sheath, like
you're already working around something with a sheath.
That's why I think it would be harder, because you're trying to make it to fit something. Whereas a wallet,
you're trying to make it fit
because
money.
you're wet molding it around the the most of the shaping in the sheath is wet molding it around the blade. In a wallet, you're cutting and stitching things together to fit items, and then also to have that fit comfortably in your pocket. There's definitely more there.
Yeah. Are there any other things that you guys that you won't do off season? Are there, like, I know, like Adam, you don't really have the off season, but how about you, Morley? Is there other things that you're like, I just know I won't do off season?
Man, I just make it work. I've cut wood in the snow, at night. Like, I've never really let the weather or where I am living control what I make. It's just a matter of like, how bad of an experience is it?
Yeah. I guess I kind of feel like I'm the same way, because I know when it's -35 and I need to cut something, I still go out in the garage and cut it. Like, it just happens. I just don't like it as much. And I plan accordingly. And it's one of those things that if you're planning things out, you can do it. And I think it's one of those things that's like a barrier that makes it, if you're having trouble getting inspired to do something, if it's -30 out, you need more inspiration to do it. You need more motivation to get out there, right? Mm-hmm. You need to be super like jazzed to go do it. We're willing to like get a little frostbite on your fingers to do it. Whereas if you're just like, I'd like to go do something instead of watching TV, I'd like to do something productive, and you're just like, oh, but it's -30 out, it's not going to help you get out there. So I think it's one of those things, like the weather is a barrier in that way for me.
Mm-hmm. It's also just cool because there are so many forms of making that you can do that in any weather. That's when I'm in university, when I got into like spoon carving. It was literally because that winter I was like, oh, I've been doing like all this woodworking on my balcony, and I'm not going to be wanting to do that when it's -30, 40 degrees out in Montreal.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I would go for a walk in Parc Montreal, like this big, beautiful park in the middle of Montreal, and find downed branches to make spoons out of. So it was a good way to like go a little hiking, do a little bushcrafting. I ended up not getting like super into spoon carving. I think I made like 4 or 5, and I was like, not my favorite craft. Yeah. Not something I want to do every day in the winter.
Yeah,
it was fun, but
I agree. It's a fun thing to do with like time on your hands. Yeah, why don't I carve a spoon? But it's not like I see these people who get like who like every day make 4 or 5 spoons. I'm like, I don't understand. It wasn't that to me. But I think that's the same. Like for a lot of people, there's things that they just like really speak to them. Like I know.
Yeah, and that was leather for me. Like at that point, I hadn't started leatherworking yet. And then when I found leathercrack, I was like, oh, this is something that I can buckle down with and spend all winter working on. It's funny, actually, in that sense, it was in the summer that I started doing it, but it was because I was at my parents' house and I didn't want to use their workshop to do the stuff I was doing before.
Yeah. Well, and that's like,
but yeah, like bookbinding too. Like there's so many things you can dive into.
Yeah. And it's like like Vincent on Because We Make talked about blacksmithing. And it's like, there are people who like blacksmith for the first time and then that is their life. And there's other people like Vincent. He goes like, I tried it. I wanted to like it. It wasn't for me. Right. And it's like, you got to find the thing that speaks to you.
Yeah. Yes, and I feel like for me that might be also living in a warm climate. I'm really curious to see like if I'll like it or not. Like I'm definitely going to do it one day. But yeah, I kind of sense that there's a part of me that like really values the change of the seasons. And I just can't even imagine what it would be like. I've never lived in any extended period of time somewhere where there weren't like very drastically changing seasons. But yeah, being able to work outside.
You know, our seasons do change.
Yeah,
right?
But just weather-wise.
It's not just 40 degrees every single day.
Hawaii would be a place where seasons don't change. Like the average,
like equatorial.
The average temperature in Hawaii is 20 degrees. And when you go there, I went there for 2 weeks. I think it ranged from 19 to 22. Like it was beautiful. It's perfect for me. I loved it. My wife was like, this is cold. I don't understand how 20 degrees is cold. But I was like, this is perfect. This is shorts and a t-shirt weather.
Yeah. I wouldn't love to live in like a really hot equatorial climate. The sort of places where like you can't go out and do stuff in the middle of the day. Like you have to be inside in the middle of the day. It's just like,
I don't know. Siesta sounds nice.
It is nice, but like I also like the freedom of being able to like do what I want. I'm a big supporter of siestas. I think siestas make a lot of sense, and there's also a reason why siestas exist in mostly warm climates.
Because you can't do anything otherwise, so go for it. Have a nap.
Yeah, and they can also. It's also not super cold at night, so they can go out and do stuff at night.
Yeah. Well, I think we've, beat up the weatherman enough on this topic. And I think
just quickly, could you imagine living in like Finland, where like it's just literally daylight for 24 hours a day?
Strange.
Like that would be.
I've never been that far north. Last summer, it wouldn't really get dark around the summer solstice until around 11 p.m. And then the sun would rise between like 4:30 and 5 a.m. So that was strange. Like it's so easy to stay up really late when that happens.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like imagine like being in Finland and that. Like, how would you ever sleep? Because like, how would you would lose so much track of time.
Well, it's the same with like there's a city in Alaska, and I'm sure there's lots of cities in Canada too, but I don't know any of them that go dark for like. There's cities that are dark now until 2021.
Yeah, and that's the converse of that situation, Adam. Is that, and then in their winter, it's dark for them like 22 hours of the day, and it's actually really interesting. There's some really interesting articles I've read about these little communities in Scandinavia, especially if they're in a valley too, because even if it is sunny during the day, the sun may be blocked by mountains. So there might be parts of the year where it's bright in the sky, but they don't get any direct sunlight. And they have very interesting...
Like like Mr. Burns.
So they have like really interesting coping mechanisms. I think you see in those communities that there's actually a lot more community events and people spending time with one another, because like you need to get your happiness from somewhere, and if you can't get it from the weather, it's like there's a little more like let's all buckle down together sort of thing. I think there's also a lot more drinking.
And I think they try and there's a lot of different things. Crazy. There's a lot of coping mechanisms for sure. It's and it's probably something that like if we thought about it during the wintertime, like the rest of Canada could probably and the rest of the states, anywhere that the sun goes down at 4:00 like it does here, it'd be really, that's an exaggeration for all those people. Don't write us. Don't DM me and say, it doesn't go down at 4:00.
The sun goes down at 4:00.
No, it goes down at 4:20.
Outside of the moment goes down at like 7
anyways, if we were like, I know that depresses me. That's like the last thing I'll land on is like, before we move to our Clampmendations, is that the amount of sunlight that we get, especially when you work a 9-to-5 job, makes it kind of depressing. Because if I work my day, go home because I don't leave, go upstairs, have dinner, right? It is dark by the time we finish dinner, right? Yeah. And in the summer, like we're not dark till like 9 or 10 o'clock. So we've got lots of time after dinner to actually go and do something. And I find that to be more affecting me. It's not the cold that affects me, it's the lack of sunlight.
Mm-hmm. So I hate the heat and love winter. And I also hate it when it's daylight savings, because someone that gets up for work at 2 a.m., it's really hard to go to sleep when the sun's still out.
I know you said that was the last thing, Grant, but one also thing I want to say is that like a lot of interesting crafts, a lot of like traditional crafts have evolved because people were stuck inside at night in the winter when it's really dark. So if that's not a source of inspiration for like take the bad weather in stride, I don't know what is.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's a good parting moment to take us into our Clampmendations of the week, and we're going to start off with
just one more thing.
Actually, I have one more thing too.
Just kidding.
Oh, you guys. We're going to start off with me. Screw you guys. Okay.
That's not the list.
Just go and move that around. Boom. So I'm going to start off with me. What everyone I think should put in their clamps this week is Anne of all trades. So she like uprooted her life, went from Seattle down to Tennessee, bought a farm. She already had a farm, but she bought like a bigger farm, had a lot of big plans, and COVID really changed those plans and really like made it more difficult for her. And her last video, she talks a lot about the difficulties she's kind of faced because of it. And I just think you guys should, everyone, if you're not already following her, I think she's the like hardest working person I've ever seen in the world. And she definitely deserves to succeed. So if anyone, deserves a little support right now, I think it's her. And I think y'all should go watch her. She does pretty much everything, and including animal husbandry, and no.
Did you say she's a jack of all trades?
Yeah. And her husband's...
that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And her husband is Adam of no trades. So I think it's really funny. They have
she's awesome. I haven't seen that video yet. I saw it pop up. I love her llamas, though. Yeah. They're great. Or they're alpacas. I don't know which one.
Yeah. Anyways, she's a great, positive person who everyone should go follow just for, one, just the, like, positivity she puts out there, and two, because anytime I've ever mentioned her in a comment or commented on any of her stuff, she has always replied to every single comment, and not a lot of other people do that. So I think she's a hardworking person. I don't know how she could possibly do it.
Yeah.
How about you, Morley?
Nice. So this week I wanted to shout out an Instagram account. It's called Tao Wood @TaoWood_. They describe themselves as a woodworker hand tool micro studio in the UK. They make a lot of carved spoons and chopsticks and other cutlery items. And I'm just really inspired by their photography style. It's super minimalist, like ultra minimalist. Very neutral tone background with their things on it, and just really highlighting the craftsmanship and the precision of their work. And they do this really cool thing with a lot of their photos where the item is like way off center, like way off on the side somewhere in the corner. And it actually works really well. And I always love when someone does something unconventional and they kind of prove that it's a good idea.
I just looked over their things, and I love that. Those are like what I've been trying to do with my thumbnails, but I don't know how to do it right.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of like soft, I guess it would be soft side lighting. It's really cool. I'm always looking for interesting ways to take photos, and as I said before, flipping through a lot of like food magazines and stuff. And yeah, they're a really, really beautiful work, really beautiful photography. Go check them out. Tao Wood on Instagram, linked in the show notes.
What about you, Adam?
Well, so mine's going to be a bit of a tool this week. I mean, kind of. So for those that do like the YouTube thing and the cameras and all that sort of stuff, I touched on it a bit before at the beginning, but my recommendation this week is going to be lens protectors, because they really saved me this week. So if you don't have them, put them on, because what's $30 to save you $800 on a lens? It wasn't even the lens that came with my camera either. So.
I do. It's not a clear one, so it's only on when I'm not using the camera.
You need to get a clear one. That's a lens cap.
That's not a lens protector.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't have a lens protector.
That's a lens cap. So yeah, UV filters. They're clear. They don't change the image at all. But yeah. And also, like, yeah, if you're working in the shop and that, like, they're great. They don't get the sawdust. You don't get sawdust all on your lens and stuff. If they get scratched for whatever reason, you can just replace them.
No, that's $30. As the Brits would say, that's a good shout.
All right. Well, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. Our F clamp level is Leroy, Big Rock Timberworks. That's our top level support, and there's a limited number of those, and Leroy's got one of them. And we also got another new Patreon supporter this week. So I thank you very much. That was a C-clamp, our very first C-clamp supporter. So if you want to find out who that is, you got to go look at the show notes, because everyone who's at the C-clamp level gets their name in the show notes. The other thing is Morley has been hard at work making the keychains that or key tags or luggage tags or whatever you want to call them, and every single Patreon member gets a custom leather keychain, and it's numbered based on when you started coming to our subscribing, whatever. I don't know what the hell to call it. Patronizing.
When you became a patron.
When you became a patron. Patron. Oh, I hate that it has an E sometimes, not other times. It screws me up. So the thing I want to say is if you're interested in that, don't forget to go to patreon.com/clamp, and you can find us there. And everyone, no matter what the level, spring clamp, F clamp, and F clamps and C clamps, all the different levels, they get our bonus content, which includes a pre-show most times and always an after show. At this point, we would normally read reviews. Sorry?
And a key tag.
Yeah, I already said that.
And
I said it for like 5 minutes.
You just described it for like 2 minutes.
No. Yeah, you described it, but you didn't say that every level gets one.
I definitely did.
Oh, you guys.
So, anyways, at this point, we normally talk about the people reviewing our clamps, which is where Morley gets to practice his voice impressions. But we don't have one this week, so we're going to move on and thank. So, if anyone wants to write a review, we love reviews. We don't care what level they are 5-star, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, whatever the amount of stars you want to give us. We love all the stars. Give us some stars. Write a review and say what either what part of the country or world you are in, and or just make up a fun accent for Morley to try and read. I want to thank TF Turning for the use of our theme song. It's what plays at the start and apparently at the end. I don't know. Adam does the editing, and I always. I don't know what happens. I do this voice part and I do other parts. Any other business?
Nada.
Well, Morley also sings the. Sings
yes, that definitely happens.
I give TF Turning a run for his money.
So if you want to hear that, you have to become a. Yeah. If you want to hear that, you have to become a Patreon.
Patron.
I don't know why you guys struggle with this so much. It's like you patronize something, you are a patron.
Patreon is the company and patron is the people.
In case you didn't know, TF Turning actually has a YouTube channel and an Instagram, and you should go check them out.
Yeah.
We link it in the show notes, but we don't always say it.
I mean, do we?
Yeah,
Morley doesn't show notes, do?
And in case anyone was wondering, the last thing, any other business, is that if you heard baby noises, those were those. Yeah, those.
I just realized I was on.
If you heard them throughout the thing, they were. It was definitely a ghost. There was ghost babies everywhere. But no, Adam was dealing with his baby throughout this podcast, and that's how much of a professional we are. We'll do it regardless of how much baby action is happening. I don't know.
Baby action.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Once words leave my mouth, they don't make any sense. So, thank you everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. If you want to go on Patreon and subscribe, great. If you don't want to do that, just share the show. I'd really appreciate, if you hit that little share button. If you ever want to share it on Instagram, just tag someone in our post, and they'll see it, and they can get to us from there. So y'all can find us. You can find Morley at Morley Kurt everywhere, including TikTok. You can find Adam at Maker Macker everywhere, but not TikTok and probably not Twitter, and sometimes Facebook, but probably not. And you can find me at the Grand Alexander, including on Patreon, even though nobody subscribes to me there. And you can find us all collectively at the Clampcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So thank you all.
Bye. Minus the
ghost.
Bye.
I've pretty much given up on Reels. I don't like how they're like the full screen. And so, like, the comments and stuff, like, interacting with people with a reel is so much harder than a regular post.
Well, it got more views than the same video on TikTok, so.
Well.
I think, you know what I'm going to do? So it actually got me thinking. I think I'm going to just start doing little, like, phone clips of, like, leatherworking, satisfying ASMR leatherworking processes and start making reels out of those. Because I think that's what... the sort of thing people like to see. It's not worth it to make like a full edited thing shot on my mirrorless. It's really a format that favors like low production quality.
The Reels? Yeah.
Yeah, Reels and TikTok.
I think I'm going to start using Reels to do like a teaser for my videos.